Hey there, friends. It's Bill MacDonald, the reading and writing doctor. One question I get asked often is why do students struggle so much with sentences that have to do with a boundary, when a sentence stops or when it ends or both? And it's commonly known as sentence boundaries, run-ons, and fragments. Well, if you can write down this quote, it'll make a huge difference for your kids who normally will struggle heavily with anything to do with punctuation, which is basically sentence boundaries. The sentence goes like this, the quote, and it would be a great idea to put it somewhere in your classroom. Capital, silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners, period. It's not enough to see the sentence because it has punctuation marks in it. Unfortunately, most students don't pay attention to the punctuation marks that slow a sentence down or the ones that stop it. They just completely ignore it. So they're reading silently, seeing the punctuation, but because they're never saying the punctuation, they're never opening their mouth and verbalizing when the sentence is slowing down or stopping, that causes some issues. Now, I'm going to try to keep my video lesson to the 10 minutes or less. Uh, I'm going to get gooder and gooder, as some students say, about stopping. I already started my 10-minute timer. 600 seconds will be gone in 600 seconds. No, I'm not that guy, Nicolas Cage. I wouldn't be having to do this. So let me share with you the important foundation that has to happen if you're going to go from what error, change, cups, punctuation that stop the sentences with a period, exclamation, question mark, or punctuation that slows the sentence down with commas, apostrophes, contractions, colons, semicolons, and quotations for dialogue when you're quoting somebody talking or when you're quoting evidence. The key is when you get to question number two type and type number three, what is the correct best way to write sentence? As soon as they see that, they need to try to remember to not just see the passage like we talk about in spelling, but to open their mouth and say it, hear it, and listen to the punctuation and use their brain to decide, do I have the correct punctuation mark, either stopping the sentence or slowing it down? And they may have to look up certain things in the book called the dictionary if they don't have it in their brain. So when they're checking for sentence boundaries, such as number two and number three. Number three being what is the correct best way to write sentences blank and blank. That's where the first one is a sentence, the second one is the fragment, or the first one is the fragment and the second one is a sentence. So a run-on or a fragment means that it's missing the subject or the predicate, one sentence only, or it's a run-on, it's probably two sentences with only one ending punctuation. And so several things your kids can look for are run-ons, fragments, commas, conjunction problems, repetition, content, meaning, wrong cause and effect relationships, or compare and contrast errors. So what I've done to help us think about the punctuation marks that are necessary is I made something that I call a FAT guide. Floor, air, table. I bounce an imaginary or real ball on the floor for a period, an exclamation, or a question mark. You can get them at Dollar Tree or Oriental Trading. I toss it up in the air for apostrophes, contractions, opening and closing quotations, and I have a shorter bounce for a shorter pause, slowing down, for commas, semicolons, colons, uh, that will be more for, these two will be more for secondary, but I still have them. Okay. So what I would like to show you in the 4 minutes is how do I do one of my online sentences that come with the emergency room for essays, editing, and revising. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if you look at my little friend here, she has red feet. And so if this was a sentence, a single sentence, I do need a stop sign at the end of this little sentence, um, called a complete thought with a subject and a predicate. If the stop sign is not there and I try to set her down, of course, she's going to just fall over. So every sentence needs to be like a street that has a stop sign. So let me show you in an example with one of my online tests. Here is a passage, and it's only focusing on run-ons and fragments that you can see here in the upper left-hand corner. And I call it Variety is the Spice of Life. And it's basically using my favorite sport, golf. So there's the passage. Let your students read the passage because a lot of you have your kids do that. And then, so that the passage, the question that's being asked about, or the sentences that are being asked about can be close, then we would make sure that we put them uh, next to each other. So, because on the real test, your question uh, is going to be over here to the right, and the passage is going to be here to the left, and you'll move them up or down until they match up. So here we have uh, a sentence, and I want you to notice that this sentence has a period and a period. I'm going to circle all of the periods that are there in the answer choices because those are going to be the stop signs. I'll even circle the period where they're telling me what to do and even where they're asking me the question. Let me undo that one real quick. Okay. So, and if you look through, you can say, okay, are there any punctuation marks that are just slowing the sentence down instead of stopping it? I think I saw one. Yes, there's one there. And I did see one more here. So as we read, we can hopefully notice something. Capital, read these two sentences from the passage carefully, period. I bounced that imaginary ball on the floor. Capital, it means that a golf ball might be coming, period. Capital, somewhere near your head, period. So if your students would have read it like they normally do, it means that a golf ball might be coming somewhere near your head. It sounds great, but they're ignoring that period and capital that are right in the middle. So as soon as your students see the words, what is the correct way, and then sentences 4 and 5, that means that one of them is a sentence and that the other one is a fragment. So I'm going to type that right there. So because I saw the word sentences, that's rule number 3. So that means I have a sentence and a fragment, or there's a fragment and then a sentence. Okay, so there's my 1 minute warning. So I've got to look for the one that fixes the sentence and the fragment. So as you can see here, the one that is true is the one it's going to be one of these two here. So it means that a golf ball might be coming. Yes, that's a complete thought. But somewhere near your head, if something's only telling you where an adverb clause without the rest, then that's wrong. And so we can see that that's the problem. So we'll quickly read through these. It means that a golf ball might be coming, comma, somewhere near your head. You don't need to separate the adverb clause with a comma in this case. B, it means that somewhere near your head, a golf ball may be coming near your head. You do not want repetition. So if you're gonna label, if to get rid of something, we want to get rid of repetition. Capital, it means that a golf ball might be coming near your head. Okay, I do see that the content is there. It did fix the sentence and fragment problem. There's no repetition. So I'm going to kind of give this a little stamp of approval there. And then the last one says capital somewhere near your head, period, capital, a golf ball might be coming, period. And we already said that we cannot, basically, it's sort of like letter A, but just reversed, where they started with the adverb instead of ending with it. So if you're going to start, I have a saying to start with how, why, where, or when, you often put a comma then. You're going to start with that, but somewhere near your head, a golf ball might be coming. I don't need that, but we do know for sure that it wouldn't be a period to uh, start with a where or a when. It would be a comma if we were going to put one. So the ones that we would eliminate would be A and B, as well as D because of repetition. And that means we're going to select letter C in our computer. And of course, we don't need to do all of these strategies. So what I'll do is I will go ahead and make sure that I uh, show you this screenshot. So I'm going to make sure that I see if I can pause the video here for a second. Um, I'll just do it while you're watching. Um, a new one. Hold on, let me get myself back in the picture here. Um, that way you guys can actually see. Get that out. Sorry for the delay. Do a screenshot so you can actually see this one here. There we go. And that's what the kind of the work that we did together. And voila. And stop sharing. So there you have it. That would be question number one. And again, as I mentioned in my um, video introducing run-ons and fragments, question 2 and 3, those tend to get anywhere between 20 to 50%. So I made a separate passage for capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, and then as you saw there, that was run-ons and fragments. So I'll kind of take you through that because several of them do get pretty difficult. I made them to get more rigorous as the online test goes forward so that it could kind of help you um, work your way up to rigor with some of your students in the higher grades or the higher abilities. Thank you guys for watching. Uh, Remember to write down that little saying that silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners. You also might want to make a fat guide, helping your students when they're verbalizing know when to slow the sentence down with what we were calling the yellow punctuation and when to stop it with the red. Take care and God bless.